You're about to hear 10 chilling horror stories to help you relax, sleep, or stay up all night. I moved into an old cabin in the woods. It was quiet, too quiet, peaceful, until I noticed the walls were breathing. The first night was uneventful, just rain on the roof and wind in the trees. The kind of silence you don't get in the city. But by the second night I started noticing things. At exactly 1:37 a.m., the house made this strange, slow exhale. It wasn't wind. It was rhythmic, intentional, like someone breathing right beside my ear, but deeper, like it came from the very bones of the house. I pressed my hand to the bedroom wall. It was warm. That didn't make sense. There was no insulation, no heat running. I brushed it off as old pipes, maybe a rodent in the crawl space. But the next morning, the wallpaper near the headboard was damp, not moldy, wet, like fresh condensation on a mirror. I touched it. It pulsed. I stayed up the next night, sitting in the dark with only a flashlight. 1:37 came. This time, it wasn't just breathing. I heard a heartbeat. Faint. Deep. From inside the wall. I stood there for almost 10 minutes, frozen, hand trembling against the surface. Then it happened. The wall moved. Just slightly. Like it took a shallow breath in response to mine. I yanked my hand away. I barely slept after that. The next morning I peeled back a strip of wallpaper. There was no wood. No drywall. Just something red, thick, wet, muscle tissue. I pressed on it just to be sure. It twitched. I ran outside, around the cabin, trying to find logical answers. An open pipe, heat leak, anything. But there was nothing. Just silent forest, watching me. I haven't touched that wall since. But sometimes, in the still of night, I hear the house inhale, and I swear, it's waiting for me to breathe back. I always feel like someone's watching me when I shower. Last night I left the curtain open, just to be sure. I never believed in ghosts. I still don't know if I do. But something is wrong with my bathroom. I started noticing it about a week ago. Every time I stepped into the shower, the air would get unusually cold, even when the water was piping hot. I felt it. Eyes. Not imagination. Not paranoia. You know that feeling when you just know you're not alone? The curtain would shift. Just slightly. Like someone breathed on it. I figured it was drafts. Maybe the vent was acting up. I even checked the ceiling. Nothing. So last night, I left the curtain wide open. Turned off the vent, sealed the window, full light on, no shadows. I stood under the stream, eyes open, glancing around. The mirror fogged, the curtain stayed still. Then I heard a sound, not loud, but there. A soft splash, like a footstep. I turned, expecting to see the curtain move. It didn't. But the mirror showed something else. A girl, thin, pale, hair hanging wet over her face, standing at the edge of the tub, staring. I spun around. No one. Nothing. I looked back at the mirror. She was closer. Her mouth opened like she was trying to scream, but no sound came out. Then, she vanished. I shut off the water and stepped out, heart racing. Every instinct screamed to leave the house. But when I turned to grab my towel, the curtain, now drawn, moved. From the inside. I haven't taken a proper shower since. Every morning I find the curtain closed again. And the floor, always wet. Even when I haven't used it. A friend told me this story a few months ago. I'll just name him Luke. He stayed at a small motel off Route 17 in Georgia. It was called the Driftwood. I looked it up. It doesn't exist anymore. But after hearing what he went through, that might be for the best. Luke was doing a solo road trip last October, driving from South Carolina down to Florida. He wanted the scenic route. No chains, no franchises. He liked old diners, old towns, and apparently old motels. He said he got tired around 10 p.m. and pulled off at a place called the Driftwood Motel. The neon sign flickered, and the O was burned out. The lobby was empty, but the bell worked. Eventually a woman came out, late 50s, heavy smoker's voice, very pale. He clearly remembers her eyes looked unfocused. He paid in cash, and she gave him room 6. Luke told me that the room was fine, outdated, smelled like mildew. He showered, watched some TV. But when he turned the lights off, he noticed something weird. He said the room felt too quiet, like it wasn't just silence, it was absence. I don't know how else to describe it, but I know Luke felt uncomfortable. Then, around 1 a.m., that's when he heard footsteps outside his door. Slow, heavy. He figured another guest, but the steps didn't move past the room. They stopped in front of his door and just stayed there for maybe around 10 minutes. Then, a knock. Not normal. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Luke checked the peephole, but no one was there. He opened the door. Still no one. But there was something on the ground. A Polaroid. Of him, asleep in the motel bed. He immediately grabbed his stuff and left. He said he didn't check out, didn't look back. He just rushed to get out of the motel. He told me that he burned the photo after he scanned it once and zoomed in. There's a mirror behind him in the photo. And in that mirror, someone standing over the bed, watching him sleep. This comes from a nurse in Oregon who worked overnight shifts at a hospice facility. She says room 205 changed the way she sees death. Room 205 wasn't cursed or anything, but something about that room felt heavier than the others. I only worked night shifts, and I never liked walking past it. It was always cold, even with the heat cranked. The bulb in the hallway outside that room constantly flickered no matter how many times maintenance replaced it. One night, I was covering the east wing alone. Room 205 was occupied by a patient named Ruth. She had advanced dementia. Sweet woman, but mostly nonverbal. Around 2 a.m., I checked the monitors. Ruth's heart rate was normal, but her room camera, normally clear, was pure static. I went to check on her. She was awake, sitting up, eyes locked on the corner of the room. I said, "Ruth, you okay?" She smiled and whispered something. I leaned closer. She said, "He's in the light." I looked. Nothing was there. Just that same dark corner. A few hours later, her heart stopped. Peaceful. Quiet. I prepped the room for transport, pulled the sheet over her, and left. But when I walked back, 10 minutes later, the sheet was on the floor. The camera started working again. I reviewed the tape. It caught only 3 seconds of footage before switching back to static. In those 3 seconds, there was someone standing at the foot of her bed, tall, unmoving, wearing a black suit. No face, just a shape. I don't walk past room 205 anymore. I bought a mattress off Facebook Marketplace. That was my first mistake. It looked brand new, firm, no stains, no smells, and the seller was polite. But they were insistent I come pick it up after dark. Said they worked nights, and it had to be that way. Whatever. I wanted a deal. I got it home, wrestled it up the stairs. It was heavier than it should have been. Like there was something inside. That first night, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. My back itched, a deep itch under the skin. I felt movement in the bed, not like the mattress settling, like something shifting. I got up, flipped the lights on, and searched the sheets. Nothing. Then I pressed my hand against the surface, and it pushed back, like fingers pressing from inside the foam. I screamed, tore off the cover, and cut the mattress open with a kitchen knife. There was something sewn into the padding, wrapped in tarp. I pulled it out. It was a plastic-wrapped bundle, human-sized. My hands were shaking. I didn't want to open it, but I had to know. When I cut it open, I found bones, real human bones. Not fresh, but recent enough to still smell. And written on the tarp, in what looked like faded blood, were the words, "Still not alone." The police came, took the mattress, took the bones. But here's the thing. Every night since, I still wake up at 3:12, and the mattress is gone. July 3rd. The new place is perfect. Quiet neighborhood, affordable rent. Just a bit older than I'd prefer, but full of charm. I started unpacking today. Everything went smoothly, except for the door. There's a door at the end of the upstairs hallway that leads nowhere. I assumed it was a closet, but it won't open. No knob. Just a metal plate screwed into the frame. Painted shut, maybe. I'll deal with it later. July 6th. I've been hearing a tapping noise, always around 2 a.m. It's faint, but deliberate. Like someone knocking from behind the door with a single finger. The weird part? There's nothing on the other side. I walked around the outside of the house. That door leads to nothing. There's no room there. No bump in the structure. Not even an exterior wall. It's like the door is pretending. July 9th. I tried unscrewing the metal plate tonight. 3 of the screws turned fine. But the last one bled. I don't know how else to say it. When I turned to the screwdriver, red liquid oozed from the head of the screw. It looked like blood. I touched it. It was warm. I dropped the screwdriver and left it. July 10th. I had a dream last night. In it, the door was open. There was no room on the other side. Just a hallway. Long. Black. Breathing. At the end of it was something standing still. It didn't move, but it stared at me. I couldn't see its eyes, but I knew it was staring. When I woke up, my hands were covered in dirt, and the screwdriver was back in my hand. July 12th. I boarded it up. I nailed a bookshelf across the frame, taped crosses to the wall, lit sage, even though I'm not religious. The tapping has stopped, but now, at 2 a.m., I hear breathing, heavy, slow, from behind the wood, like something is closer. July 13th. There's writing on the floor. It wasn't there before. Scratched into the wood, just in front of the door. I had a room once, too. A father shared this story about his 4-year-old daughter's imaginary friend. At first it was innocent. But then the friend started talking back. He said his daughter called her Millie. She'd talk to Millie in her room, sometimes laugh, sometimes cry. That's normal, right? Lots of kids have imaginary friends. One night, he heard his daughter whispering. When he peeked inside, she was standing in the corner of the room, facing the wall. He asked, "What are you doing?" She said, "Millie doesn't like when you watch." It was a joke, at first. Later that week, his daughter had bruises on her arms. Small, round, like fingerprints. He asked what happened. She said, "Millie squeezed too hard." He told her to stop playing with Millie. That night, their dog, who never barked, stood growling outside her door. And she was talking again. "No, Millie. I want to stay here." When he opened the door, her toys were all stacked in a pile in the center of the room. Her voice. It wasn't her voice. It was deeper, older. He took her to her grandmother's the next morning. When they got there, his daughter looked relieved. She turned and said, "Thank you, Daddy." Millie stayed in the house. I bought an old radio at a flea market. The seller warned me, never tune between 90 and 92 at night. I thought it was superstition, until I heard her voice. The radio was vintage, heavy, wooden casing. I loved the aesthetic. Thought I'd just use it for ambient noise, maybe classical music. One night I was turning the dial, trying to find a station, passed 91.3 and stopped. Static, but not ordinary static. Underneath it was a voice. It whispered, "Hello?" I froze. I turned the dial. It got louder. "Are you there?" I spoke, barely above a whisper. "Yes?" The static changed. Laughter. Not loud, not happy, just knowing. Then a voice said, "Don't speak again. Now I know where you are." I ripped the cord from the wall. But every night since, I hear that same voice. Not from the radio. From behind the walls. This story was sent to me by a guy who works night security at a college art museum. He said he doesn't sleep much anymore. It started with one of the display cases in Gallery 3. There's a 19th century mirror in there, tall, silver framed. At night, I'd walk my rounds, and sometimes it wouldn't reflect me. Instead, I'd see a man in a black coat, standing still, behind me. When I'd turn around, nothing. After a week of this, I started documenting it. I took a photo. In the photo, he's there. But he's not behind me. He's in the mirror. Closer to the glass than I thought. His hand pressed up against it. I showed it to the curator. She got pale. Told me that mirror was removed from the murder house. The killer used to stand in front of it and practice his expression. She said, "The man you're seeing, he's not in the room. He's in the mirror, and he wants to trade places." I caught my reflection moving before I did. It smiled. I didn't. I stood frozen, staring at the bathroom mirror. My hand was still, but the reflection's fingers twitched. It cocked its head to the side, like it was studying me. Curious. I blinked. It didn't. Then, slowly, it stepped back. I didn't move. But in the mirror, the bathroom behind it stretched into blackness. Like the mirror had become a window. And the thing that looked like me, it turned around and walked into that darkness. I tried to leave the room. The door was stuck. When I turned back, the reflection had returned. But I wasn't in it. If you're craving more spine-chilling tales, join us for more haunting mysteries and horror stories. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications.